Chapter 6, The Scam Bar. There on the corner now, Michael could see Stumpy's place. He was finally there. Stumpy's place was a scam bar that was full of some of the thickest and meanest assholes Brooklyn had to offer. The last place, Madboy in particular, wouldn't be caught dead in. That is to say, if you figured me for a pussy. Outside the bar was swimming in numbskulls, an old rival gang of mad boys from back in the Shamrock days. Back then, they were the biggest pile of degenerate slime bags that this part of the city had to offer. And from the looks of it now, it seemed like they had mutated into an even bigger pile of human wasteoids that one might expect from a Tromaville movie. Madboy couldn't recognize any of them individually, and if it wasn't for the tattoo of a penis with a mohawk on the side of their heads... No shit, a freaking tattoo of a freaking cock on their freaking heads, yes. Without that insignia there was no telling if they were numbskulls at all, compared to any and all other punks you'd find on the streets these days. Back then, Madboy and the rest were always getting mixed up in their business, but back then you could at least expect a numbskull to know how to form complete sentences. Now, there was no communication with the lot, no parlay whatsoever. Grunting at them wouldn't work, since Michael couldn't figure a civilized way to do so, to let him know he wasn't looking for trouble. Me not looking for trouble? And even though the idea of just swinging a sledgehammer over their head seemed like the best means of communicating, once you had one's attention, they'd all swarm on you by the hundreds in half a second. They were still sporting their signature Travis Beakles from way back when, but now seeing a cock with its own mohawk tattooed on the side of their heads, that's some new shit they just came up with. Had to be the stupidest fucking gang emblem that Michael had the displeasure of ever gazing at. Much about this new breed of numbskulls Michael had only learned about in prison when they started getting thumped in by the masses. With this new breed, Michael figured as long as you were willing to get such a retarded tattoo done up, any psycho could be accepted in. But the question now was, what the fuck are they doing here? Stumpy's had always been infested with the wrong sort, but these guys weren't even human. Other than these gentlemen. As Michael got closer to the entrance, he also saw a few beefcakes hanging out front with the Looney Tunes. And now Michael was really confused. Back in the day, you'd never see a beefcake hanging out with a numbskull. They were practically rival gangs. But then again, practically nobody liked the numbskull, so seeing any gang out front with them would have still been a surprise. "Michael," called out one of the beefcakes. Michael didn't know this clown, and he was a bit too small and scrawny looking, even with boulders for biceps, to be a member of the Beefcakes, so he must have been someone new. That was also the thing about the Beefcakes. They were an actual gang of bodybuilders that started out from the gyms. Fucking meat trucks. As Michael continued moving forward, it was becoming apparent that more and more of them were beginning to recognize him. Fuck it, bring it. But at this point, it didn't matter. Madboy had set himself straight back at his dump that time had come to confront his past, and there was just no chickening out now. That is to say, if I could chicken out. Something was in him tonight, driving him forward as if he was on autopilot, something that gave him no fear, and that was part of what was beginning to scare him. "I wonder if I'll see her again tonight." "Oh shit, is that you, Madboy?" called out a face Michael did sort of recognize, telling from his dreads. Wearing leather from head to toe that's covered in rhinestone, shirtless underneath to exemplify his sweaty, man-loving physique, but wearing a jacket that has a sewn-on image of their pussy-faced leader at the back that's all puckering up like the sleazy pervert be whistling Dixie. Also, this faggot wannabe here is wearing a bow tie. Based on all that, the slime bag must have been a ravisher, and finally, Michael was now finding a lot he'd be expecting here. Hey, Michael, what's the rush? Where's your manners?" dished he, this time. Michael didn't respond and went totally out of his way to show he had little interest in doing so. "What's wrong, Michael? You seem lost." Michael just walked on by without a flinch, knowing that any greeting from a ravisher meant a knife to the back when he wasn't looking. Entering the bar, Michael finally saw the usual suspects. Ravishers, neon suedes, and some Turkish delights. The Turkish delights were a group of Turks, obviously. Not really a gang, whose business was importing a lot of exquisitely expensive drugs like hashish for all the high life parties all over Manhattan, the city of vanities. Fucking Armani suits, I like to throw all those cocksuckers in a bonfire, dance around like a wild Indian. A few of the guys from upstairs were also here, who were basically in a joint like this, fuck up mobsters that never got made because they were, well, plain fuck ups. They were always found doing grunt work with street hoods like these, street hoods who were themselves out trying to make higher connections. Stumpy, of course, was one of these fuck up errand boy in-betweeners stuck dealing with people of such lower disposition and age. "Hey, I know you," said a stranger Michael wasn't all too sure of. Haunting eyes. Some of the lot there seemed to recognize Madboy, some didn't, although some of the ladies on the table really seemed to remember his face. And all too well, too. "Hey, Michael," smiled out some chick Michael was sure he'd fucked a week ago. A really tall and skinny Polish girl that I brought over to my dump one night for the usual, and when I wasn't looking, she had taken a bottle of chocolate syrup I had and started squirting it all over me, giggled and started licking it up. Now, I'm not gonna complain about that there, oh no, that was sweet. But then she got it all over the place, and now the cockroach problem I got is 10 times worse. I mean, stupid girl. I fucking hate cockroaches. I really, really fucking hate them. They gross me the fuck out. Now I can't go without a night without those little bastards being all over me. And some of them ain't little, but huge. And for what? She wasn't even that good in the sack. Michael took another look up at her and then felt like he was being a little mean to feel that way about her now. She was an awkwardly tall-looking girl with a bit of a slouch going on, but still very beautiful to Michael, nonetheless. She seemed like such a sweetheart still, and Michael then began to smile. Although I do have a thing for taller women, and I love that quaint little smile of hers. Plus, she's really got a beautiful set of legs there, too. You could see all the muscle definition. I love that. Plus, she did suck some really mean dick back in my place, really going all out, falling head over heels in love with my manhood like she wanted to send it Father Day Hallmark cards and start calling it daddy. Thought Michael as he looked up at her again and started getting turned on by her, while disassociating that whole notion that when being called daddy had any association with the girl having some major emotional scarring from her childhood, since her real father might have, "Shut up. Don't associate it like that. They call me daddy because it's cute. Let's just leave it there." And now, seeing how Michael still had his sights on her, the girl then started biting her pinky while whisking her face around a little, and that was now getting Michael feeling excited for a prospect again. I just might have to give her another tumble someday, but as long as I keep her away from the condiments. Thought Michael, now smiling back up at whatever her name is. As he grew a dastardly smile as Pat Benatar's Heartbreaker began to play, and with that Michael began to entertain the thought that the song was really dedicated to him. Fuck, what was your name though? Judy, Juliet, or no, started with a J. Looking at the ladies around him, Michael began to feel horny again and fully extended. That made him begin to grow worried. He had plans and he had business here at Stumpus, and he couldn't allow some tail now to get the best of him. But then again, he just couldn't help watching ladies passing by as he narrowed his eyes on their diamond windows. A diamond window is something else I made up. It's when you look at a chick from their ass and you see that small diamond-shaped gap between their thighs that gives you a lovely peep show of their love box. And I gotta note, it really does look like a window too if you look at it. With the way the ass crack separates at the bottom makes it look like curtains. And all you're left with is $1 million visas of what lays beyond. Hell of a scenery. Of course, if the thighs are too close together, it doesn't work. And neither does it work if the thighs are too far apart. Gap can't be too narrow nor wide. And if you can't see the love box past the windows, there's definitely no magic there. You gotta see it, and it's gotta look juicy enough to where you can smell it. It's gotta be perfect, and when it is, it can give you tunnel vision, make you see looping zoom-ins, which is that camera technique you see a lot of now where they keeps looping a short clip over and over again when the editor wants to emphasize something to a hypnotic effect. But with diamond windows, your eyes just get zoomed in and oh. Michael shook his head as he tried to break that line of thought. Also, Michael realized he was practically explaining all this to himself in his own head, which sort of scared him to think that he would. Fuck, who am I explaining this all to? I already know all this. I'm the one that came up with it. Fuck. And I think I do this a lot too. Now all I need to do is do it out loud and then everyone will start thinking I'm a certified nut. Absorbing all the atmosphere and all the people around him, Michael saw how different Stumpy's place looked and felt from what he remembered it back in the 70s. And seeing the difference time had made had Michael then entertaining the thought of what it meant to be a tough guy now in these 80s. Seeing this new breed of tough guy acts acting up around him the way they were now. Goofy looking bunch all trying way too hard to show for something even though full of nothing. Although I guess they still got their entertainment value even though not the effect they were looking for. Michael had always noticed the difference time had made going from decade to decade, from generation to generation. Here at Stumpy's, Michael saw the lot he'd been seeing all his life, since as early as he could remember, as early back as the 50s. I was around here in New York City when the Greasers were here too, as early as when I was 4 years old. And now seeing the same lot again, different, and yet now it had Michael's gears and his noggin now turning. Every decade had its lot full of personalities and characteristics, of course, even though individually most still had all their own unique things going on that made them uniquely them, but generally most people also like to keep their acts trendy. Pizzazz, attitude, and slang were just as much of a trendy thing as music, movies, and fashion were. Monkey see, monkey do, good monkey, have a banana. And mostly what Michael had been seeing in this decade was shit from prison. And that didn't count since most of the people in prison were sort of frozen in time. In Attica, Michael was still seeing a lot of those cold, brooding, calculative, political activist types you remember from the 60s. Attica had a lot of political activists from a bygone era, a lot. But if there was one thing that stood out always that Michael had seen, was that every decade had his tough guy acts all acting stoic. At least with my so-called generation, and just acting, not actually being. Although Michael did find the stoic types annoying, no matter how real they might have really been, since he couldn't see how people could be so cold and uncaring, since Michael found it inhuman, so disconnected with reality. Like a lot of people now too, all trying to seem hard and on the ball, but if you ask me, just faking it. They looked like they were hiding something, and Michael, being how his nature was, just wanted to punch them in the face to see what their first reaction would be. But not to be offensive. Michael just felt like he could really see a man's true nature when his nose had been broken bloody and his facade had been shattered into pieces, revealing then what lay underneath. But anyways, as for what Michael saw of now around him, all the macho tough guy acts, they now had a funny persona going on. There was no more of that sweat hogs, light-hearted strutting goof and pizzazz Michael remembered from the decade past. Stuff that Michael liked, but still plenty of that annoying mean as fuck macho crap, where all you really needed to be a tough guy with some aviator sunglasses, a red bandana, a fortified brown mustache that just oozed machismo, and a cigar in your mouth. And the harder you chomped down on that cigar, the harder you seemed. Although the look is pretty stupid funny, as annoying as it is. Yeah, you go ahead and mouth on that giant brown cigar there. Chopping down on it like some hungry hippos. Growl. Everyone now was also on a funny side trending this head bopping thing, like they couldn't stop digging what they dug. Digging and digging and digging all the way to China. One would think of something that was bitching and then start bopping, then turn to his pal next and say bitching, and the other fool would now get infected with this most heinous disease and start bopping also saying bitching, even though really not knowing what for. Ain't that some stupid silly shit? They all seem so synchronized and choreographed even, but besides that, some of them had this really weird thing going on Michael liked to refer to as a journey face. You know, Steve Perry and the Don't Stop Believing guys, love that song. Something he came up with after seeing that one music video of them on MTV, where they were all making weird looking faces, all panting and sweating at some PP problematic pixie passing by. You know, a pretty girl with problems, the ones with the long faces that you start aching for, but you say nothing to because if you did, their problems would then become your problems. But you continue to ache for them, and now more so than ever. But anyways, as for these journeymen, the thing about these fools is, these fools had a way of sneaking up on a man, and Michael had been spooked by them a couple of times. One minute, you'd be minding your own business, and then all of a sudden, You'd be face to face with some hombre brooding up a storm, with quivering lips and soul-blazing eyes. They would have this throbbing, sweaty, passionate look of a lover and a fighter as they glare at you with eyes enraptured by journeys separate ways, playing out on the 80s astral planes, looking so alone and angry and hungry and righteous, like they wanted to rip your heart out and fuck it, that'll kick it to the wall. Really spooked Michael Silly the first time he saw someone cold flash him one in close-up, and he didn't even know if the lonesome stranger there wanted to beat his ass or beat that ass. Ah, shit! What the fuck you looking at? You want some of this? Called out Mr. Journeyface a centimeter away from Michael's nose. Where the fuck did you? Damn! And right while I was thinking about you fools too. What timing? Nothing, replied Michael, as he walked away and tried to regain some of the composure that was just lost. Don't fucking do that shit, thought Michael. Damn it, they spooked me again. Michael then chuckled as the silliness of it all began to set in, and then began to like it, seeing how the persona really would suit his own. Then there was the way everyone dressed now, and that there was something else. They were also tacky now. Their threads looked also flashy and shiny, nothing but leathered up jackets and pants, and headbands and wristbands and this bands and that bands, and with their mean as fuck head bopping thing, they looked like they had stepped off the set of that Michael Jackson Beat It music video. Actually, I heard they brought in some real hoods to make that vid look authentic. No wonder I felt like I recognized some of those frowny fuck faces in there. They weren't wearing clothes, not normal ones, no. They were wearing rhinestone-studded belts, rhinestone-studded bracelets, rhinestone-studded leather jackets, rhinestone, then some cloth underneath covered in graffiti. That, or they were wearing head to toe in denim, a lot of acid wash shit, which was also covered in rhinestone and looked like it had been put through a mulcher. Wait the fuck, why am I criticizing? I look just like they do now. Damn you, MTV. Then there was their hair, and that was another thing. Wild. Wild could only be the word to describe it, for every head in the joint practically had a wild animal tied up top, all thrashing and slashing and moaning and manging, trying to break free. Also, a lot of them had now a Ziggy Stardust do. Oh, you know what? The dude looked good on David Bowie back in the 70s, but it's a travesty now, a fucking travesty. Fuck their backwards waterfalls, and they're all over the place now. Can't believe I wanted to get one just a couple of months ago. Now, looking at all their shit makes me want to yank at this shit as they pass me by to see if they'll start making hee-haw sounds, fucking muleheads. Then Michael thought of his rat tail and felt like cutting it off. Even Italians and Hispanics here have that shit now, too, looking all curly and greasy, and even black guys, too. What the fuck? All short in the front, long in the back, and with blacks, their shit all around juicy since they're trying to jerry curl their shit to Booth. What is the world coming to? Michael was frowning now, something fierce, watching all this. But then again, a couple of the chicks here have it too. But what they got is that punker variation that I've also seen a lot of that I like to call a Jareth. And it's a look that looks totally badass and hot on them. A Jareth was basically David Bowie's hairdo from that weird Muppet movie Labyrinth. So it's definitely a do for chicks. Damn, do they know how to rock it. Looking like man-eaters, looking so slutty and vicious and vain and nasty, like they just stepped out of a CBGB bathroom stall after getting double penetrated by Sid Vicious and Frank Sinatra. Sid doing his usual in the poop shoe while Blue Eyes did his usual nailing in the kisser. Then stepping out and not washing up first before they left, looking like they're the deities of Skank Kiss would sacrifice this virgin schoolgirl to on stage for a good pussy harvest to last the nation through the winter. Fuck. I like to yank them manes hard and have them neighing like ponies while I work my plow from the back. Michael shook his head again as he noticed someone else was calling out to him. Michael, called out the character. Michael knew the guy but couldn't remember the name. He was a nymphomatic, another high-scale group of blow pushers from Manhattan, also pimps, known for pimping beautiful black and Hispanic women from the ghettos. Now, of course, if you were to call them a pimp to their face, they try to cut you in a heartbeat with an old-fashioned shaving razor. You see, for them, they were saving their women from crack-infested hoods by making them addicted to coke and then selling them to some white Armani suit in Manhattan who just had a taste for something Nubian, as those lizard people would put it. But other than being pimps and coke pushers, they weren't such bad guys. But honestly, fuck pimps. Mike, Mr. Knight. Come on, man, you don't remember me? Maybe. I know your face, but can't remember the place. Fuck, man, Mike, it's me, James Slims Holly. Yeah, Michael knew him. Only face he felt like he could stomach in a dive like this. Mike, what are you doing here? And with that jacket on? What do you think this is, the good old days or something? I mean, don't worry, James. Not gonna be here for long. I just want to talk to Stumpy and then leave, responded Michael, eyeing away at some more diamond windows passing by. Why do you want to talk to Stumpy, Mike? Seriously. What the fuck are you doing here? The whole joint is up in arms talking about you. Anywhere else might have been cool, but you know how most of the guys here feel about you, explained James as he tried to get Michael's attention. Don't worry, James. Everything's bitchin'. By the way, what are the numbskulls doing outside? Asked Michael. You mean the cockskulls? I can't exactly tell you, responded James. Cockskulls? Exclaimed Michael. They changed their name to cockskulls. What? The tattoos of dicks on their heads wasn't trying hard enough to prove how fucking retarded? Well, never mind. I'll find a man by myself, concluded Michael. Michael passed him by and continued looking for Stumpy. Cockskulls, uttered Michael boldly to himself in amusement. So, this was the situation. Everyone in the joint had their eye on Michael, and he was probably not going to leave this place in one piece. And then, Michael had a funny thought cross his mind. This is my scene. This was what it was all accumulating up to, and now he couldn't stop relishing in it. Madboy had always enjoyed a good fight, but this had now become something entirely different, and on an entirely new level. Probably gonna get myself... Oh my God, Mikey, is that you? As Michael turned his head around to see who was calling him out now, he saw it was LaToya Lipsticks Green, or Miss Lipsticks, as everyone else called her. Supposedly from years of study, the neighborhood had made her out to be half Caribbean black on one side and half Cuban, Russian, and Cherokee mix on the other, or simply put, the best example of genealogical ingenuity New York City had to offer, and a true mixing pot of utter perfection. Her hair was all wild and curled up like a golden bush in flames, lips always glossed and puckered up and held into position, able to drive any man with a dry piece hysterically out of his mind. Oh, don't tell me, Kimberly Chambers. Guessed Michael with a playful smirk. What? Exclaimed LaToya while shifting her eyes. How you doing, LaToya Green? Tss. Really, Michael? You gonna call me out like that? LaToya gave Mikey a hug. And this time, some of the crowd couldn't stop pretending not to notice. So how are you and your sexy Lepstead doing? Really? Is that all you got from me after all these years? LaToya paused. She had lost herself for a minute greeting an old face, and now she looked like she was settling back in with the mindset of the rest of the crowd. Michael, what are you doing here? I've heard Conway there talking about you, and you know how there's a lot of people here that don't like you much, right? Explained Miss Lipsticks while staring at Conway as Conway stared back. Well, to be honest, I don't like them much either, responded Michael, playing around with that bitter taste in his mouth. Michael, this is serious. I know I already got that line from James. The fuck you doing here, Madboy? Bellowed out a large figure in the back. That sounded like he had a mega speaker instead of a voice box. The room froze. Boommatic had that effect even when he wasn't trying to be loud. Listen to me, LaToya, bitch. What the fuck you doing over there with him? Bellowed out Boommatic again. At this point, the room continued pretending like it was carrying on with its own business. Boom, don't be talking to me like, shut the fuck up, woman. Don't give me any of that lip. Get your bony ass back over here before I... LaToya quickly listened as Boom just gave her that look like he was going to deck her in the face, intimidating her shitless. He didn't. Madboy, on the other hand, decided not to listen and continued walking off looking for Stumpy. Why the fuck did you get yourself involved with these pimps, LaToya? Thought Michael. Oh, no, you don't? Who the fuck do you think you is? You think you #1 hotshot here? I'm talking to you, sucker! Lashed out Boom again. You know where I could find Stumpy? Asked Michael without turning around. Boomatic began laughing in amusement. This little Irish hick must have lost his mind and his way in here if he knew any better. There's no way he'd diss me like that. I know that's what you're thinking, Boom. I know that's what you're thinking. Thought Michael as he noticed Boom was now approaching him in a demanding pace. You think I'm playing? Oh, I'm coming to get your ass now.
I'm gonna get you, sucker! Of course, Madboy was 10 steps ahead of him. Boommatic was left-handed and his left foot was moving much faster than his right. The big oaf was telegraphing all his moves for Michael and didn't even know it. Rompus pompous, asshole, make your move. As Boommatic came around to grab him from behind, Madboy turned and clocked him over the head with a bottle of Jack Daniels, the same one he'd been drinking out of all night, still in his hands to his surprise. Then Madboy took one last swing to his sweet spot, and boom, dropped like an ox. Oh, there was no pretending now. The room was itching to jump Madboy's ass. But seeing practically one of their hardest hitters go out so quick made them think twice, no matter what their numbers were. So, do any of you know where I can find Stumpy? Anyone? Or do I have to really start losing character? Called out Madboy as he stared the lot down, trying to pick out which fool would have the balls to step up to him next. Plus, if any of them try to pull me out a piece now, I'd best hold on to this empty whiskey bottle here and chuck it at them. So fucking stupid coming here like this. Ah, fuck it. Motherfucker! Shouted out someone from the back and kept himself in the back. Yeah, keep your ass at the back of the class before the teacher calls on you. Stumpy! Yelled at Michael. Hey, Michael, I'm right here.